So, dear friends, dear youth climate action empowerers, welcome to this European Climate Pact launch satellite event webinar, which has the title Youth Climate Action Empowerment Innovation, the European Climate Pact and its Global Dimension. My name is Miroslav Polzer. I'm the founder and executive director of IAAI GloCha, a youth and global goals focused civil society organization based in Klagenfurt in Austria. My organization is very active in youth climate action empowerment in the context of United Nations processes and programs since more than 10 years. And since December last year, I'm also a European Climate Pact ambassador, building bridges between European, global, and local efforts to get everyone inspired and empowered to take climate action in a meaningful and rewarding manner. There are three reasons why we are organizing today's event. We see that our existing societal structures don't succeed to respond effectively to the climate crisis on an adequate scale. And here the European Climate Pact is a very welcome public sector innovation, which opens up space for new thinking about how to connect and reward those who contribute to collaborative climate action. The second reason for today's event is the need to give young people better engagement opportunities, knowledge, funding, and tools so that they bring all their potentials as agents of change to fruition and can thus better help their societies to achieve European, global, and local climate neutrality goals. And I am delighted that we have today a group of wonderful young climate action leaders, friends from all around the world, who will guide us in our efforts to improve youth climate action empowerment. The third element of today's event is the need for multi-level governance innovation and integrated information and communication platforms and tools for enhanced public participation in climate action. And here we have, with the project initiative ACE-AT of the Austrian Federal Ministry for Climate Action, a wonderful innovation space to envisage a non-state actors' action for climate empowerment support structure that will add value to the implementation of the Paris Agreement, the European Green Deal, as well as to climate neutrality goals implementation on the local level. I wish us all that we will learn from one another and that we will find ways to connect our efforts more effectively between generations, between nations, and between different governance levels. And with this, I'm happy to give the floor to Joris Overmaier, who works at the European Commission on Youth Engagement for the European Climate Pact. And this, add Joris to the stream. Hi, Joris.
Hey.
Welcome. We are happy to have you with us.
All right,
please.
Let's dive right into it. So, what Myra already said, I'm Joris. I am part of the Climate Pact team and I am responsible for youth engagement. I'm very much looking forward not just to present my own ideas on what youth engagement could be under the Climate Pact, but also definitely hear your ideas. Because what we'll see in a bit is that a big part of the Climate Pact is that it also ideas can come bottom up. So really looking forward to all the input that you can that you have for me, and I'll take it along. The Climate Pact. Well, what already mentioned, it's the participation part of the Green Deal. So the goal of the Climate Pact is to actually engage people in the Green Deal. We don't have to dive into what the Green Deal is. I think some of you will already know, some of you will not. The main takeaway is that it's about climate action. So the Climate Pact has two components: the awareness side, which is about climate action. Why does it need to be taken? How can we take it? And the second part is the action part. And how will we actually, how can you take action and how do we engage each other in taking action? So it is about bringing people together. It's about not excluding anybody, but also really striving for ambitious action and to really try to get to the local level. We have a certain set of predefined values for the Climate Pact. It needs to be science-based, responsibility and commitment. We'll come back to that in a bit, but it's important that every action that is taken is science-based and there's no greenwashing involved. So that's one or two of the important values. There needs to be transparency on the action being taken, on the policies being taken, both on the Commission side, but also on the company side, organization side that will take action. It's about ambition and urgency. I think we all already know that how urgent climate action really is, how we can barely go fast enough. So that's part of the values. It's tailored to local context, so we really need to, it's not just Commission saying higher up, you need to do this. It's really about seeing what is actually locally happening and what we can do there. And that's at the end of people actually living in regions are the best advisors and professionals and experts on what can actually happen there and know how to engage fellow citizens. And it's about diversity and inclusiveness. So like I said, that we don't exclude anybody. Why we need to repair nature, we need to take action. It's about connecting people from all walks of life. And it's really also not just about greening, motivating other people to take actions in their daily lives, but also the Commission itself will take action and will also show that they'll be taking action to really have that leadership role. Then the what, like I mentioned before, there are two components, the awareness side and the action side. So it's about learning and developing solutions together and really finding out how we can enforce each other's ideas. And yeah, how we can learn from each other. And it's about supporting the climate movement. That's a very broad term, which I'll discuss in a bit as well, but I'm also very curious at the end of the presentation to hear from you what that should entail, especially on youth engagement and on youth climate engagement. We are very aware of the fact that there's a lot of different levels of participations that you can be in. So we have the people that are already aware, that know of the act that action needs to be taken, but aren't actually taking action themselves yet. And you have people already taking action. And our goal for the Climate Pact is to be a place for everybody. So it's important to really speak to the big parts of the population that are already aware, but not taking as much action yet. But just as much as important to already engage the climate activists and people taking action, to also engage those people, because it's crucial for everybody to be a place. We don't just want to have one group involved. To actually make this happen, we'll also have different activities tailored to different groups. So it won't just be one event for all different groups. The awareness side, so concretely we have ambassadors that are part of the Climate Pact, so you can become an ambassador. That's one of the call to actions at the end as well. You can become a Climate Pact ambassador if you want to. I'll share a link in a bit. And that those ambassadors take action, inspired by action, but they can also inform people. It's really on you to decide what type of ambassador you want to be. It's translating the scientific evidence, because it can be quite complicated sometimes. We know that needs to take action, but concretely, where can we take action and all that kind of stuff. The Climate Pact is also really about making information and data as accessible as it can be. We're promoting climate science solutions. Pretty much speaks for itself. We really need to have scientifically based solutions, and we really want to communicate those solutions as well, what is possible. We want to debunk climate myths, so this really speaks into the fake news and all that kind of stuff which might happen or sometimes already has happened. That we really want to make sure that is not spreading too much. We'll have online and offline events. So with the Corona pandemic going on, with the COVID, we won't be able to have offline events. But also after we'll definitely also have online events, because it's so important to be inclusive and to be able to engage as many people as possible. And not everyone can travel, wants to travel because of climate reasons. So we'll also keep those online events as well. Then I wanted to give you two examples of Climate Pact ambassadors. So we, at the left, we have Francesca Dondelo, one of my personal favorites. There's also a video online if you want to. She has her in Paris. She created her own green corridor, so little pieces of gardens, really nurturing nature, and not just bring nature back to the city, but also teaching people about nature. Amazing story, definitely worth a watch. And then we have Martin Helsef. I'm butchering probably all the names, and he's an Olympic rower. But one of his in his free time, he also actually picks up trash as part of a crowdfunding campaign, so people can pay for him to dive to pick up trash. Also, he also made a video which is also available online. He tries to inspire people with action, and also combining his hobby of deep diving with taking action. So that's another beautiful example. Then we have climate action enabling. Here again, this is about participation. This is very broad, which I would like to discuss with you. It's about enabling through democratic processes, science-based, and we really want the action that's already there to make sure that their action can actually be taken. We're building and supporting a knowledge hub, so there's a lot of information scattered for participation and on climate information. We really want to combine everything together and make it as accessible as possible. So that's the concrete way of doing it for us. How the knowledge hub exactly will look like is still in development, so I can't talk too much about it. That the main ideas around it are pretty much set, because we want to make things accessible. We'll grant an overview of available financing, so that's a very important one. Financing, funding. At the end of the day, that's oftentimes what the climate movement also needs, and we want to also really map all the things that are available and make it easier for people to actually get the funds that they need. Signposting is really about bringing people along with the Climate Pact. We really want to, I'll come back to that a bit, make sure that other parties also contribute to the Climate Pact. It's not just a Commission initiative, but that, for example, organizations can also call on their customers, call on their staff to also partake in the Climate Pact and take their own individual actions. And then we have pledges, which can be done by individuals and by organizations, which I will dive into now, which is part of the innovation, not just the social innovation, but here the technological innovation. So for individual pledges, we actually have a collaboration with Count Us In. It's apart from the Commission, actually on purpose, because we think we want to make it more grassroots. The way to do that is also working together with an external party that already exists. So we are not creating a new thing with individual pledges, but we really trying to find those collaborations. I believe Count Us In calls them radical collaborations. Here we, and with the Count Us In platform, the beautiful part about the Count Us In platform is not just a platform where people can pledge. So I'll, for example, say, you can actually see some examples there. Drive electric from now on. You can say, okay, I will drive electric, but you will also get reminders on if you actually took, if you actually did the actions that you said you would, to actually keep you on track. And a big part of Count Us In is to actually encourage that we can encourage each other to take more action. So there's a big part of it is communications. People can say on their social media, okay, I did this action. Will you also do an action? So people could challenge each other, for example. And the beautiful part is that what you see, the aggregator. If people, for example, in a city pledged, In the long term, what we'll have is that you can see how many people pledged a certain pledge. So they're, for example, it's seasonal in your country or in your city, and how much CO2 that produced, to really have that community part of taking climate action. So that's a really beautiful part. I think probably there will be some ideas on this as well. I'm very open to it, very curious what you think, and what might be improved. For organizational pledges, we are still working on that, on how we actually want to shape that. I think I have already talked quite a lot, so I'll move quickly. We had an online event on the 16th of December. Frans Timmermans was there, the ambassadors were there. It was really about engaging people and showing what our ideas were. Our initial outreach was pretty significant. We had in the initial, because this group will grow, but right now we have 180 ambassadors. There were a lot of registrations, as you can see, and the performance of the hashtag was also really cool. But there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. This is just a start. Then I want to finalize with quickly reiterating over what you can do. Apply for a Climate Pact ambassador. To become a Climate Pact ambassador, I'll share the link in the chat. You can also commit a pledge on the Constituency platform as an individual. You can look through there, see what you find interesting, or maybe what you can still pledge on, because maybe some people already did something. And organize a city multi-stakeholder dialogue, which is what we call satellite events, like this one. So join us, commit, and act. That's it for me. Really looking forward to your questions. And sorry if I run a bit over time. I try to speak as quickly as possible.
Yeah, hi, Joris. It was wonderful. Really, certainly worth the time. And congratulations to this great innovation effort, and also the mobilization that has been achieved so far. And with our next panelist, with Marie-Claire Graf, we will now like to shed a little bit light on the issue that it's good that European population, European youth is empowered to take action on climate, but as it's a global problem and we have so many wonderful young people all over the world, it's now, let's see how we can connect the efforts and create synergies with the great work that Yango is doing, the youth constituency in the UNFCCC process.
Thank you so much, Miro. Just quickly checking if my slides are visible and you can hear me well. Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. And as already correctly introduced by Miro, of course, the climate crisis is an international problem. That's also why there is some similar efforts, as we're already shown on the EU level, of course, internationally. And with this, I'm going to focus on Yango, which is the Children and Youth Constituency to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. I will explain what it is and what we are doing and how you can also join us. So our common motivation is that, as we all share here, that we are in an existential climate crisis, and we do see and feel this emergency. Young people are very often on the front lines and are heavily affected by it. And also that's why we want to have unprecedented, urgent and bold actions. And also we want to be included more in the decision making, because there is a moral part of it, but also there is a rights-based part that young people have to be involved in decision making. But also that our generation, who is the most affected by the current crisis, needs to be more mobilized and heard. So this is what we are sharing. And we are a group, as mentioned, of international young people. Everyone in Yango is younger than the age of 35. But no worries if you're older than 35. There are other constituencies you can join. There are in total 9 constituencies, but I'm going to focus on Yango now. So you can see it's an international group of people who are aiming to, as mentioned before, who are aiming to influence the process at the UN level to have more ambitious climate policies. So we are aiming for the policy part, for a climate positive and just society, that we are able, hopefully sooner than later, to live in harmony again with nature and our planet. But also we want to have empowered young people who are able to drive the changes we want to see on a local level, of course, as well, but also especially nationally and internationally, as this is what we can also change at the UN level. And also we want to have a UN where young people are able to sitting in decision-making positions and are taken serious, because we do believe that young people have a lot to bring to the table and are important stakeholders. To fulfill our big vision, which is certainly very ambitious, we are focusing on 4 areas. And one is awareness, knowledge, and capacity building, acknowledging that every one of us is coming from a different area and also having a different entry points, but we also want to share and learn more, and hopefully that we can come up together with even more ambitious and better suggestions, but also realizing and recognizing that we can't do this alone. We need to collaborate and cooperate and use different networks, as we are also doing here, and that's why we are very supportive of the different initiatives here, but as well within the UN system. One of our main focus is to change policies, because this is what is ultimately coming out, and this is why we are doing lobby and advocacy work, to bring in our points or make existing ones more ambitious, or, for example, more youth-friendly or gender-just, and so on. And sometimes also, when our policy efforts are not so successful, we do bigger youth actions, such as strikes or singing or different other actions, another form of expression for us. As already mentioned, all young people around the planet can become part of Youngo. It's very easy. Here is the link. One can simply sign up. Everyone below the age of 35 can join Youngo, and every person around the planet can join one of the other constituencies. So everyone can be part of the international global movement. Focusing quickly on 2 things what we are concretely doing. So of course our main engagements are the World Climate Conferences, the COPs, as well as the Intermediate Conference, which is happening normally in summer. And just 3-4 days before the COP is happening, we are organizing our own youth conference, the Conference of Youth. This will be the 16th edition, if we can organize it in this pandemic. Let's see how it is going to turn out. We're also planning now a virtual version that we, of course, because of course it's very important to take action, but we are normally meeting annually physically in the city where the COP is happening, and bringing young people from all over the planet together to give them a platform where they can prepare, where they can do capacity building, but also where they can come up with very concrete policies they want to lobby for when we are entering the COPs. But also we, of course, realize that not everyone is as privileged to be able to come to the International Climate Conference. So we are organizing local and regional formats as well, also to overcome, for example, visa issues or language issues. So we are organizing a local conference of youth. All young people around the world can organize such LCOIs, and then at the end we have a policy document, and we are going to collect all of them and bring it to the Conference of Youth. There we are synthesizing again all the local outcome, and of course also the global outcomes, and then bringing it together in one policy document, which we're going to bring forward to COP. With this, we can make sure that voices from the ground and from also marginalized and underprivileged communities are heard at the global conferences. We are very proud that we could organize this conference now for the last 15 years. Of course, last year was very challenging. Nevertheless, many of the young people could adapt quite quickly and organize some virtual formats that we could come up with very concrete solutions already. We are demanding now also in regards to the ongoing pandemic. And with this, I want to close already and say that you can follow us, of course, on all the social medias, but as well engage, of course, in the constituencies. And if you have any questions, please do reach out. We are very happy to work with all of you together, because as mentioned, one of our parts is that we are using existing networks and that we're building robust collaboration. So that was from my side, from Youngo, and I'm very much looking forward to the other presentations.
Marie-Claire, may I congratulations first for the great presentation, but do you have immediate feedback also to the approach of the European Climate Pact, and and how it could be applicable also for the global level, and where synergies. That would be also very valuable if you could add a few thoughts on this.
Absolutely, yeah. We of course very much welcome the efforts by the European Union for the Climate Pact and the ambassadors, but also of course for the global and more political ambitions to stand up for ambitious climate policies, and also the efforts of especially reaching out to young people and bringing them into the conversation. Nevertheless, of course, we all realize that we have to much more to be able to fulfill the vision Yango is striving for. But we also do believe that the efforts the European Union is doing can be replicated in other countries as well. And hopefully we can empower many more young people, especially also from the Global South and the frontline communities, to be able to make their voices heard in the process, and the participation is possible.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And with this, I bring to the floor now also a big friend of youth empowerment and innovation leader and non-party stakeholders engagement, Dali Wögerbauer from the Austrian Ministry for Climate Action. Please, Dali, tell us your thoughts on how to empower youth and have some governance innovation chain integrated across multiple levels of governance.
Thank you so much, Miro, and it's really a pleasure to be part of this important call, because as we have seen, the negotiation process of the climate agenda is more or less over, or let's say there are only few issues left that have to be still negotiated. So the climate process has become more and more a climate action process. And therefore, just a second, please. Sorry, this is also part of the new virtual world. And yeah, coming back, we have now a climate action process, and I think it is important to focus now on the engagement of the civil society, how they are able to tackle climate change, how we can support them in their efforts in tackling climate change. And as the national focal point of Austria for Action for Climate Empowerment for ACE, and also the ambassador for the UNFCCC for ACE, I was thinking about what can we do in future to address the climate process and to address the climate change challenge, and to bring it to explain it to people and what they can do and how we can integrate them in our efforts in tackling climate change. So then we decided to organize and initiate a project, the so-called ACE-AT project. It's a project focusing on supporting non-party stakeholders in their efforts to tackle climate change, in their efforts to for climate action. And thanks to Miro, we could persuade him to be part of this ACE-AT project. And I would like to ask Miro, thank you so much, that he will give you a small presentation on this project. And we also asked ICLEI also to be part, and we are looking forward also to cooperate with them. Miro, would you be pleased so kindly to present it very briefly to our interested audience what it is about? Miro? Okay, Miro, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And I will be happy to share some information about it. So, initiated, funded, and coordinated by the Federal Ministry Republic of Austria for Climate Action under the thematic leadership of Tali Wögerbauer. We have the United Nations Climate Change Secretariat as the lead partner, and ECOS and ICLE and my organization IAAI is associated partners. It's to provide support for this agenda, ACE agenda that Tali mentioned, and here especially for the public participation part. How can we really change the mindsets and really getting everyone engaged in action and impact for climate action? And it's under the leadership of the ministry. There was a preparatory conference. And here is the structure of the project. We have 4 activity areas. One is rethinking and reorganizing ACE for all of society, climate action empowerment under the leadership of the UN Climate Change Secretariat and the ministry. Then the activities that are, is also a general program support for the UNFCCC Secretariat. And then we have program area 3, which is led by ECOS, the Education, Communication, Outreach Stakeholder Community, and represented through my organization, which is the ECOS member in Austria and contract partner here. And Tim will also say a few words about this work program, and also myself in the concluding part, I will say a few follow-up actions. And ICLE has the 4th activity area, enhancing engagement of local and regional governments in these climate action processes. There are details about the deliverables, a feasibility study, and a business plan for global action for climate empowerment, non-party stakeholder support structure, innovative mobilization of financial resources for action for climate empowerment for the non-party stakeholders, but also with the non-party stakeholders. And you will hear from Alexei Shadrin from Climate Change Coalition Digital Finance team, what kind of new ideas and tools there might be available. And then we have also the task to deliver the concept for a digital global ACE platform. And these are the main deliverables. And within the Austrian partnership, the project aimed to work also with the All for Climate initiative, that is calling now for contributions till mid of June, but this is still work in progress and more to come. And with this, I give back to Tali.
Thank you so much, Miro. So this is just very briefly and in a nutshell, what are the main points of our ACT project. As Miro and Marie-Claire, I think also Doris has mentioned, the most important thing is to find synergies, to connect. So there are so many initiatives for climate action. And I think there is really a need to find a way how we can connect, how we can exchange our experiences, and how we can address needs and requests, and especially needs in the various regions. Therefore, I think we should strengthen the regional ACE dialogues in exploring the requests and needs of people in those areas. And furthermore, we have such broad and big initiatives on climate action, like the European Climate Pact or the Race to Zero and so on. These are good. These initiatives and projects, they can address really many stakeholders, businesses, private sector, and so on. But I think the most important aim is not leaving anyone behind. And therefore, I'm very thankful and grateful for the engagement of organizations like Miro's organizations or ICLE, because they are very experienced in networking, they are very experienced in connecting. And now I'm speaking in a role of the official national focal point of my ministry, it's important to be in connection with these friends and colleagues as an official, because then I know what is needed also in the civil society. How can I support, or we can support them in their efforts on climate action. And I can also inform them what is going on within the negotiation process. And so we can have a very fruitful exchange of views. And at the very end of the day, I think also we find a common way to solve this big challenge of climate change. So for the time being, thank you so much, and sorry for talking too long. Thank you, Miro.
Oh, no. Always inspiring and valuable to hear you. Thank you very much for having been for being with us. And with this, I will add now Tim Damon from the ECOS Education, Communication and Outreach Stakeholders Community to present his views on youth climate action empowerment, as he is a distinguished youth climate action leader and partner since years, and also in relation to some ideas for the ACE-AT project.
Great, thank you, Miro. Greetings to everyone in your respective time zones. Good morning, good afternoon, evening. As said, I'm Timothy Damon. I'm from the United States. I run the Global Youth Development Institute, which has a mission that is all about empowering young people through the Action for Climate Empowerment agenda around the UNFCCC, and am one of the core members of ECOS, which is the education, communication, and outreach stakeholders community within the UNFCCC process, very much focusing on leveraging education, communication, and outreach. And if you're over 35, ECOS is one of those other spaces. Mary Claire mentioned it's very much an intergenerational space. So certainly everyone is welcome there to collaborate with us if those are the issues you want to work on. And thank you, Miro. You've framed this event very well with your 3 points earlier, which really should be built upon here. So it is very important to recognize when we're talking specifically about this area of ACE and how we really empower people, whether that's through the European Climate Pact or regional ACE dialogues or all these other avenues, that the existing system hasn't been working. You know, if you look back, you would see that this idea of the need to empower the public as part of climate action goes back to 1992 with the original convention. And there have been multiple work programs and attempts that governments have made to move forward on this agenda, but we still see that it hasn't been sufficient. And really, as we're talking about moving now from the negotiations to implementation of the Paris Agreement in particular, where ACE is Article 12, we see that we absolutely need to scale up these efforts. And so that's why the ACE-AT project is having a very crucial role in terms of how we will figure out some of those concrete solutions and steps to identify what isn't working and then propose some ideas for how that can be solved. And this all can feed then into not only all the work of non-party stakeholders, but also the work of governments where they need to adopt a new work program on ACE by COP26, which of course this has been very much disrupted by the entire pandemic situation, but nonetheless remains very important. And we're very much looking to Tali and other leaders and champions of ACE within the process to help move all of this forward. And we appreciate those efforts already. And one specific idea then, and we're going to link now to Miro's additional point on the need for young people to have more tools. One of those tools that is missing is often finance. And this doesn't apply only to young people, but all of us throughout this sector, I think, can relate to the point that resources are scarce. And to Tali's point as well, instead of having the synergies and good connections that we should have, it's very difficult oftentimes to get the resources. And so it's more of a competition than a synergy. And one preliminary idea that we have, which can relate to the the ACE-AT project, specifically the feasibility study and business plan for this ACE non-party stakeholder support structure. This structure should be helping to create those synergies and as well focusing on streamlining finance and upscaling finance for these ACE activities. And one preliminary idea within that, which I have developed and which has been so far received favorably by a number of parties and also non-party stakeholders from both youth and ECOS. This was included in our formal submissions to the UNFCCC on ACE last year in February. And this is the idea of having a project marketplace for ACE-related activities. And the goal here is to create a pathway not only to synergize between projects and actors, but especially to leverage a connection to private sector finance. Because we've seen so far that public sector climate finance has not reached the scale which is necessary in general, let alone trying to target specifically ACE. So if we want to be innovative, we should be thinking about how to tap all available sources of funding. And so the idea here is that under the auspices of the UNFCCC, we would create this platform, or through the whatever form this and non-party stakeholder support structure would look like for ACE. All of that is still up in the air to be determined. That's why we need the project. But in whatever shape it would take, the goal is you have a concrete place that say, I have a project, right? I can submit it into this platform where the public is able to see it, other potential collaborators are able to see it, and especially donors, corporations that want to fund this kind of work, philanthropists would be able to have this marketplace as a centralized place. They're able to see this catalog of projects. Excuse me. And you then would be able to have some of the big political leaders who are in a position to leverage the attention of those sectors to ACE, which they should be doing, to draw attention to that platform. So you could say, if you really want to support ACE, just go on this platform. There's this range of projects. You would be able to find something that aligns with your foundation's mission, with your corporate mission, and make those linkages. And as well, if I submit a project and I can, of course, see all the other projects which are submitted, I might say, oh, well, look, here's another NGO or even a government that wants to, partner on something. Then again, I have a way to contact them. Or if you're just in the general public, or maybe you're a researcher and you're trying to better understand these areas, you would have this centralized place that you could go and see what are the kinds of projects. And you could then assess gaps. You could say, these are the areas where we already have projects. But, if you look at the 6 elements of ACE, you might see that some of those elements are not being reflected with projects, which would not be surprising to us, because unfortunately ACE is oftentimes only talked about on the education piece, which, while critical, it's also this awareness piece and the public engagement piece, which are so crucial, which very good job European Climate Pact folks for really focusing on those other elements that are sometimes neglected. And so, of course, we still need to elaborate the details and translate what all this would look like. But the goal here is really providing more of a structure. And, the finance piece, the marketplace, would, I suspect, only be one part of that, because, of course, there's other areas that we need to support. There's just infrastructure, connection capacity, the broader networking. And so very much this is helping us to go in the direction that we need to move. And with that, I'm out of time, but happy to address any questions that anyone may have through the chat. And thank you again, Miro, for having me and being in great company with Mary Claire and Tali and Climate Pact colleagues and others who are still to come with other elements. So together we can really move all of this forward. Hello, Eunice. Good to see you coming on next as well. So onwards.
Tim, very concrete, up to the point, and strategic as always. Congratulations. And with this, we come to Yunus, who is also a wonderful youth climate, general climate action empowerer and governance innovation leader. Also with your action plan on multi-level governance, integration of climate action, and so please tell us how you see the future of youth climate action empowerment in cities, and how the EU Climate Pact and the ACE framework can help there.
Thank you, Miro. Thank you, first of all, for the invitation. And I also would like to congratulate you, of course, as the climate ambassador, as your energetic enthusiasm has demonstrated that you're one of the best ambassadors. At the end of the process, if there will be a vote, my vote will definitely be with you. You are showing an immediate action that gives the example of leading. And so I think this event is one of those, let's say, instruments that we can expand the message of Climate Pact and the ACE. And also in this regard, as you have mentioned, ICLE together with you, ECHOS and GloCha, we are very honored and proud to be partner of the ACE AAT project. And in that regard, we'd like to express our gratitude to Talia Vogerbauer and her ministry. And I think, as Tim mentioned, there is a need for more investments coming to this process. So I think this project is one of the examples, and then the outcomes, I'm sure, will be impactful, so that we can justify why such projects are instrumental or transformative. Maybe just in this slide, I will continue a couple of more personal points. I have prepared a slide, and then again, I will continue with just verbal comments on the question that you raised, how European Climate Pact can contribute to this process. So again, on the personal issues, I was one of those youth activists in 1995 for the first COP to bring Turkish youngsters to the COP in Berlin. And at that time, there was no Youngos. There were Bingos, there was Engos, LGMA, and I'm very happy. I see Mary Claire and I see Tim, that Jungo has really been an instrumental in moving forward. So that is also very personally touching. And in my capacity in an expert in Turkey, I also was the national focal point for Article 6, which is the predecessor of the ACE program. There, I've seen practically how education, training, public awareness can literally shake and move things in the national level, because you reach to different stakeholders, and the more people know about what climate change and secretariat and the convention is, the better they can demonstrate that they can implement it. So I think it is excellent, one of the best programs of UNFCCC. And in that regard, this discussion we're having, thanks to ACE in the Article 12, is also one of the best examples of why Paris Agreement is important, because even UNFCCC recognize an element of public awareness. The role of stakeholders have never been so concretely enshrined in the preamble or in the implementation of Paris Agreement. So this is the new reality. Paris Agreement shows that climate action is such a big challenge, but also such a big opportunity. It cannot be only left, or can be only under the national government initiatives or processes. Whole of society, whole of government should be on board. So that's why we are here. I am also very happy to see that the Climate Pact has already engaged a number of mayors. We have already now 4, as far as I know. Warsaw, Stockholm, Setúbal, Mechelen mayors, deputy mayors are all part of the process. So that shows the importance of engagement of local governments, and that brings me, in fact, to the presentation. Maybe can I share my screen, or how do we do it?
Please press the share screen button, and then I have to add it to the screen.
Yes, I did it now.
It does not show up yet here.
Do you see it?
No.
Oh. Maybe
the share screen button, and then you have to choose the application window which you want to share.
Well, something, yeah, maybe that's this one. Okay. Well, every software has different facilities. Is it okay now?
Yes, here it is.
Okay. Well, this new virtuality is every IT software has a different style. So please bear with me my slightly lack of capacity to navigate it.
You're doing great.
Oh my God. Maybe I skipped the full screen. Oh, that looks good. So just an explanation about ICLE. We are a network of local governments on sustainability since 1990. And in fact, youth and citizen engagement is embedded in our, let's say, constituent, because we are a legacy of the Earth Charter and the Agenda 21 in 1992, which local Agenda 21 has been always pushing forward the spirit of local actors engaged in the decision making and implementation. So we have more than around now, the latest figures around 2,000 in more than 120 countries. And because of our spirit of sustainability, we are demonstrating that in the age of the Paris Agreement, in the age of Decade for Sustainability Action, we are having the mission of accelerating localization of all these efforts through our pathways, which is the legacy of local Agenda 21. So, and in this UNFCCC scope, we are the focal point of local governments and municipal authorities constituency. I was asked because of the topic, and I'm very happy that my colleague Stefan Wagner from City of Bonn is also one of those discussants. So I will not go into the European in the example case, but I would like to give some diversity from the global experiences. Daring Cities is an initiative, is a process that we have kicked off at City of Bonn last year. It was an effort to respond to climate emergency, the response of the urban leaders. And in this second day of Daring Cities, it was 3 weeks long, we had convened together with our colleagues from Oceania, Australia, and Africa, a Daring Youth session. And this was interesting because it was a workshop where youth could discuss about the city representatives, what do they wish to get from their cities in terms of the climate action. And that brings the discussion, of course. Youth have two aspects. One, as a citizen, they are directly interacting with their local government at the first hand. It is not so easy to reach out to ministers or prime ministers in any city, but every city has a contact with the citizens, and whatever the streets say, mayors, vice mayors should respond. Otherwise, they will never be re-elected. So there is an immediate interaction. But also, youth, historically, hundreds of years, for centuries, youth is the power of transformation. And the Paris Agreement, 1.5-degree goals, those climate neutrality goals, cannot be achieved with our current system of work. There was a very powerful slogan, change system, not climate change, that was coming from the youth activists. And if we want to change the system, it cannot be a top-down. It cannot be by enforcement. It can only be inspirational. It can only be with the citizen engagement. And youth is the best group to motivate that. And here you see the outcome of this workshop in Daring Cities was that, of course, the word dare was, thanks to Greta, was a bit a negative initial reaction. How dare you was the sentence, but we tried to turn it in a positive sense, and we wanted to encourage local leaders, or let them hear from their youth how they would like to see their cities transformed. And here you see the examples of youth, and all these cities are members of ICLE. So we are the bridge between our members, local governments, and the community, so that they can inspire each other. And this would be one of the things maybe we can discuss in the project, so that in the next Daring Cities we can demonstrate how this was transformed and how it was implemented. And this can also be an input to the Climate Pact. But it is not just youth asking something from the cities, but in fact, youth is taking the responsibility politically as well. Like to give you two examples from the global north and global south. Recife is the first Brazilian city and one of the first in the global south who have declared a climate emergency. The Municipal Council of Recife adopted this just before COP25 in Madrid in 2019 November. It was, of course, a discussion with the council, and the people who were voting it were also trying to implement it. And just a couple of months ago, Recife elected a new mayor, and he's 27 years old, and he is the youngest mayor in Brazil, and very likely across the world. Now he will be in our leadership. So it is not just youth demanding something, but now youth taking action, and with this political awareness, they can now influence local politics, local actions, and local planning. Another example at the bottom of this is from Dunedin, New Zealand. The councillor, Jinty, was one of the very active members of us. She was the youngest councillor of Dunedin when we were in our World Congress in Belo Horizonte. She had been working with us, and she made Dunedin one of the first cities in New Zealand and across the world, the first city to divest from fossil fuels. And now it is scaled up with other cities, especially like New York City, joining up. So that youth is not always an pushing or demanding, but it is in fact acting, and especially the new leadership, be it business, be it politics, the youth, the awareness of youth will be the one that will implement all this transformation. And I would like to almost concluding in my presentation in the sense that as Mary Claire, as Timothy mentioned, we are actively engaged in the COP process for years, and for COP26 we have a vision for multi-level action COP. You have mentioned this, Mira, as well. One of our elements, one of the 6 pillars, is amplifying the global action, and their ACE, culture, urbanization, these are the ministerials that also the communities that are friendly to ambitious local action. It's not always confrontational with the national government. So these group of countries, ministerial bodies and their stakeholders should be actively involved in the climate process. Therefore, we will be working with you. The ACE project will be helpful for us. And my last point, the European Climate Pact, how can it contribute? I know we have hundreds of mayors of ICLE contributing in this process, but when I hear the discussion, 2 things could be important. The climate neutrality targets, thousands of European cities and hundreds of them have 2030 or 2050 targets, but it is a reality that none of them are close to the delivery. And in many cases, city officials, be it a mayor, be it a director of an environment department, they are concerned that their plans are not immediately reaching out to the citizens and they are not making this transformation. So the Climate Pact can help the cities to reach their climate neutrality goals as quick as possible and as wider as possible. The second thing is that EU as a bloc has adopted already a new commitment for 55%, but still national let's say targets has to be defined. So through the Climate Pact, the citizens, the youth, can ask their national governments in the EU to integrate the commitments of the cities, their metropolitan areas, climate neutrality targets to the national policy, so that the EU climate goals can be delivered much faster, and this could be an example to the rest of the world as well. So these are my 2 cents, and as we said, we will be working with the project, and this is a fantastic start, and congratulations to all the participants, and Mira, always your leadership, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yunus. Wonderful presentation, and I'm really 100% convinced that cities are the governance level which has the highest potential for climate action in the field of mitigation, especially also adaptation and resilience building, and also reaching young people, providing young people also spaces where they can act, really in enabling, nourishing spaces for young people to take action. And with this, we are coming to the next partner in this climate action empowerment effort and journey, and that's Tom Bauman from the Climate Chain Coalition. Tom will say more details about it later, but it's really a wonderful innovation space also where I have the privilege to be involved also as strategic director. And also, although formally Climate Change Coalition is not a member of the ACE project consortium, there are many areas where I'm sure that significant progress will be only possible with your input and with innovative digital solutions. And I will share also a link in the chat window about an event that we have had together, Climate Change Coalition and ICLE, about how digital innovation can help towards climate neutral cities and citizens. And with this, I give the floor to Tom, and thanks for being with us.
Hello, everyone. Thanks very much, Miroslav. Just to do a quick sound check. Can you hear me, Miroslav?
Yes, perfect.
Okay,
Please.
and I just want to check if my screen is, if you can share it. I think I've clicked share screen. Can you see it? Fantastic, thank you. Hello, everyone. Again, I'm calling in or online via Ottawa, Canada. And again, thanks, Miroslav, for the opportunity to give a brief presentation to everyone. It's been a very interesting series of presentations so far. I'd like to build off of some of the key points that Eunice has made in terms of engaging whole of society and system change. In fact, I've been advocating for the need to have transformational change to enable the transformational change in the real economy for some time now. So the presentation I'll give, I'll dive right in, is two parts. One is the Climate Change Coalition, and the next is specifically some recent developments that are aligned with the goals of empowerment and enabling the transformational change to happen. Okay. I'll skip this slide here, other than to say that in my dual capacity today as co-chair of the Climate Change Coalition, and also with an organization called Climate Check that has been leading the development of some innovative digital solutions for climate. So the Climate Change Coalition just celebrated its third anniversary in December last year. And it's been an amazing journey to grow from, I think it was 25 members to significantly over 200. But we were created in 2017 jointly with the support of the UN Climate Change Secretariat, and to be an open global multi-stakeholder network. And so it's open to not just digital solution providers, but organizations like environmental NGOs and youth, cities, and so on. And very much a member-driven organization. So that's not top-down or anything like that. Open and really to support the collaboration, such as the ACT initiative, and as well as city level and so on. And to meet lately online, thanks to many efforts by Miroslav, but also around major COP and other climate initiatives, and to facilitate the knowledge development and exchange at the interface of the digital community and the climate communities to help build those bridges so they can make greater progress. So you can see some of our members on this slide and our key partners, such as the UN, World Bank, and then some of the tech communities as well. So this is just a quick slide to show that our members are in around 50, I've lost count, but it's over 50 countries now around the world. And we have an online searchable map that you can easily see what the organization's about, who to contact, the website, and so on. Now, the digital solutions for climate span more than just blockchain and distributed ledgers. There's, of course, IoT, Internet of Things, and smart sensors and devices for smart agriculture, smart buildings, smart cities, and much more. And they've also been used to accelerate the expansion of green power, and more so to land use management, carbon credits on blockchains in terms of registries and markets for trading. More and more we see that, and it was highlighted in the last couple of days recently with the Task Force for Scaling Voluntary Carbon Markets. Digital finance for climate. The next speaker, Alexei Shadrin, will, I'm sure, talk about that. Low carbon supply chains, resilient, meaning adapted to climate impact supply chains, adaptation in general, as well as digital MRV, meaning measurement, reporting, and verification, which I will talk about in the next part of this presentation. And then likewise, digitally empowered governance innovations. One of the Climate Change Coalition initiatives that Miroslav has helped to really grow over the last 2.5 years or so, is around data and digital innovation infrastructure to support climate action empowerment of stakeholders. So in the interest of time, I'll continue moving on and return back to a closing slide on the coalition at the end. So one of my other roles, other than helping to manage the Climate Change Coalition, is to support the development of some of these digital solutions. And one is called Digital MRV, and that's to address some of the core challenges around the data that is going into climate change programs at various levels, whether that's emission reduction projects or nationally determined contribution climate actions as a whole, so that not only is the data improved and there's credibility associated with that data, but also to improve the utility of it through data marketplaces and make that more accessible to stakeholders and participants to solve climate issues more readily. And not only are we addressing the challenge of bad data, which I think the expression garbage in is garbage out, we definitely want to get good data going into the MRV system, but in and of itself, that doesn't address the full problem. And so we need to go beyond IoT and digital sensors that collect the data and assure it in distributed ledgers via immutable, high assurance capture of the information, so it can't be manipulated across the whole data life cycle, from on the ground activities through the entire society and economy and value chains. We go one step further and look at, what are the standards and the rules and the governance applied to the data to make meaningful metrics about climate activities to facilitate the mobilization of resources, whether that's financial and otherwise, to accelerate the deployment of those resources and the activities that result in improvements in terms of climate change mitigation and adaptation. This is just a brief slide that I'd like to use to try to explain the overall system. And looking at it, I know there's quite a few boxes. Look, starting at the top left-hand corner, where you could have a climate action site. There's, and this figure here actually comes from a project that we're doing in Chile, involving the governments of Canada and Chile and many other stakeholders, where they had already in place digital sensors measuring the flow of methane, the concentration of various elements within the gas flow. How is it being used, for example, to create electricity? And this is biomethane, by the way, in order to help reduce the carbon intensity of the grid. So these digital sensors capture the data and we bring it into a distributed ledger. And once that data has been captured and validated to ensure its provenance and its quality, we then apply the MRV methodologies to come up with the metrics, whether that is emission reductions that then become carbon credits, or the emissions that go into inventories or other aspects of a national NDC registry. And so in this diagram, again, if you look at the bottom half, and I'll focus on that for the remainder of the slide, looking at the system of standards that exists right now, and I just earlier this week posted an article about the need to have system change in the world of standards, which is part of the overall governance system. And so currently there are thousands and thousands of sustainability and climate standards that exist. They've been developed over the last 25, 30 years, but they haven't been developed cohesively overall to capture all climate actions so that they're interoperable information going in and out from each of the different standards. And so inventing a new way that standards can be created so that the standards work together and can be deployed via these digital solutions to make it faster and cheaper, so we have more real-time information corresponding to the real-time data going in. And the importance of modernizing the system of developing standards so that it's more open and participatory. And this is the whole of society and ground up type of system change that's necessary so that those standards are developed by the stakeholders on the ground and most affected by these activities and the use of resources. And I think that's a major opportunity for youth today to be able to get directly involved in the rule setting. So rather than in some old-fashioned type of process, very much in a crowdsourcing-like way, but of course having all of the quality control type of mechanisms in place, engaging youth to help develop these new types of smart standards, because as we see digital currencies from central banks and distributed ledgers being used for the creation of smart money, which is not only capturing financial value in digital currencies, but also the non-financial, so meaning climate sustainability in general. What is sustainable smart money? And I think that's a question that's still open and will be worked on for many years. And that's where I believe youth can really have impact, being empowered with such a means with which to influence how those rules are created and then deployed into this digital system for constantly measuring and optimizing our climate activities towards achieving more rapidly and cost effectively and inclusively in terms of having the people who are involved determine those rules around what's going to come forward as sustainable smart money over the next few years. So I know we're tight on time, so I'll just wrap up by saying that these are some ways, and the presentation will go around. These are all links to get involved with the Climate Change Coalition. We have various social media accounts. Miroslav has made a fantastic chronology on our Facebook page, so you can get the whole history of the Climate Change Coalition and stay informed. And we hope that you'll engage with us and help us achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement. Thanks again, Miroslav.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Tom. It is for people who are not in this field of digital innovation, it might seem that it is a far away topic, but I study these things from a systems transformation, system innovation perspective, and this digital innovation part is the missing link. With this now, it's really possible to connect everyone, and especially youth, with global goals, having digital measurement, reporting and verification, impact assessment collaboratively, including also artificial intelligence, creating digital assets based on blockchain technology and connecting it with digital finance, everyone, and attribution of outcomes. And so these are the new elements which were not imaginable 10 years ago, but now it's here, and the whole climate action governance mechanism needs to benefit from it. And the Climate Change Coalition is the leading player in this field, and we are happy to have you with us here.
Thanks very much, Miroslav. There's so much we could get into. I'm looking forward to the discussion part of the session as well later on, and afterwards, hopefully many of the participants today follow up. Thanks again.
Yeah, and if there are questions, please post them on the chat window, and then also Tom can also respond in the chat window, and it can be included in the stream. And with this, we give the floor to Alexei Shadrin, Evercity, member of the Climate Change Coalition and leader of the digital finance team of the Climate Change Coalition. And it's also, as Tim has highlighted, the need for innovative finance. Your kind of solutions will help to make it happen. And thanks for being with us.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Miroslav, Tom, and all the other speakers and visitors of today's event. My name is Alexei. I represent several companies, Evercity, also DAO IPCI, and the Russian Carbon Fund. I've been in the space of blockchain for climate since 2016. and was happy to unite with Miroslav, Tom, and other dedicated people on the topic of digital innovations for climate issues, very broad range of issues. And now specifically we are focused on putting green bonds on blockchain, which is a very important part of the equation for the restoration after Corona crisis, for the recovery packages, and for the global green transformation, which is essential. We really need a lot of money to transform our economic and social systems. And green bonds looks like a very good tool to raise this money. But green bonds also have their own limitations. And with blockchain, we're trying to solve the problems of greenwashing and also significantly lower the cost of issuance of green bonds so that many projects around the globe, people and communities who need money the most, could use this innovative financial instrument and raise financing for their green projects. I'm also leading the finance working group in the Climate Change Coalition. And with other members of the coalition, we're looking into development of open source solutions that could be used by many people around the globe. And specifically, last year, we've been working on an open source blockchain protocol for green bonds and also for the sustainability linked bonds. That could be, a special purpose bond where the interest rate of a bond is directly connected to the impact that the projects are making, that the finance projects are making. So it has a lot to do also with what Tom is doing with MRV. And once we get this data through sensors, then it is used to recalculate the interest rate of a bond and distribute more fairly the impact that the project was making and give more transparency to investors while lowering the costs. So this is also an issue for youth initiatives and youth communities because itself open source technology is a common good, and everything we do is available on GitHub. So you can go there and check and also learn on this, how to issue those green bonds to attract financing, and maybe use this open source solution to attract financing for your project, for example, on-campus project in a university or in your local community. So this is something that we are working on with Miroslav, with Tom, with other people. We're producing this software and we're producing the knowledge, the skills that we hope could be shared and spread around the globe. And the visitors, viewers of today's webinar are also strongly encouraged to join the Climate Change Coalition, to work with us on these technologies and give your ideas and use these technologies to improve your everything that surrounds you, actually, in a more sustainable way. Another important thing which would be in our focus is some special programs, special tools and mechanisms to increase youth engagement into the climate issues. And we know that, for example, myself, I'm a millennial, but we also know that there is the Generation Z and the next generation, and people think already some other way. They're used to, all the gadgets and digital, surrounding them from the early childhood, and this will be continuing even more. So we have to think about new educational formats and outreach formats. How do we reach younger generations? How do we engage them? And here, Miroslav has a lot of great ideas. For example, the crypto stamp project that he mentioned already. our part here is to provide the blockchain solutions that could enable the exchange of these stamps between the people, between youth leaders, and those stamps could be like a reward for environmentally right actions, and at the same time they could be, you know, interchangeable, and they should record these environmental achievements of young people. So this is, I think, a very important thing, very important project of Miroslav, and we're helping him in a technical way to make this project a reality. I also want to use this opportunity to invite youth members to join this project and connect with Miroslav or me directly, because when we're designing this system, this concept and project, we really need to design it for the youth and for real, you know, young people who will use this. And we need your help to design this product, to make the concept more user-friendly and to make it viral, because if we succeed on this journey, it could be possibly a very good instrument for the education, for raising awareness, and also, you know, it can educate how to use those blockchain technologies and more sophisticated instruments such as green bonds and carbon credits that are put on blockchain. And after all, it creates a new type of economy and economic and social relations between people, because everything that we are doing in the climate change coalition is related to, you know, uniting people from various countries by the common knowledge and technology that enables the peer-to-peer transaction of everything, of goods, of services, of labor, of knowledge, of ideas. And it really falls into the core sustainable development concepts that were presented in 20th century and developed in 21st century. I believe that these technologies are enablers of our future, but it's still early years, and we need to think a lot how we should use them better together with you to create a more fair and more sustainable world. And I think we are now facing the, you know, great challenges, but also great opportunities, and the time is right. So if we combine our efforts, then we will create a better future for ourselves and our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexei. Very inspiring and great to work with you. Before we come now then to the discussion part, I will briefly show also some information about what our next steps are, and so can you hear it? Can you see it? Okay. Okay. So can we see it? I guess it is visible. Okay. So and now going to full screen. So we have these ACE activities areas: rethinking and reorganizing ACE for all of society climate action empowerment. There will be a consultation and virtual conference. And here, especially now, our ACE activity areas, ECOS and IAAI, with this feasibility study and business plan for a global ACE non-party stakeholder support structure, or perhaps even an office, and potentially in Austria, and developing concrete solutions for resource mobilizations for ACE and this digital global ACE platform. As I mentioned, one of the next steps will be to see how this could fit with the Italian COP26 co-presidency or for climate initiative. And what I wanted to show here is also this crypto stamps topic, which we have already developed some ideas, but as Alexei said, we are inviting everyone who would like to be part of this initiative. We have presented these ideas at the Daring Cities Conference of ICLEI, Blockchain Technology and Digital Finance for Climate Neutral Cities and Citizens. And this idea is that in the future, climate action will be a digital badges collection game. That we really, these activities, the outcomes of these activities will be somehow transformed into digital assets, digital badges, digital crypto stamps, and there will be really a huge amount of resource mobilization also connected with this idea that everyone should aim to become climate neutral oneself. It's only when the citizens, especially young people also, have this firm commitment, yes, I want to be climate neutral, then the climate neutrality aims of cities or of Europe, or in our case, Austria, 2040, at the World Paris Agreement 2050, only if the individual is also aiming at the first place aiming for this, then the whole of society has a chance there. And this tools, this climate action individual climate action dashboard app is one thing that we envisage, that really every person should have on their mobile devices such a decision support tool and digital badges collection mechanism. And with the Climate Change Coalition, because a simple tool cannot do it. Simple tools, individual tools only create silos again. We need something that integrates data and information between the public sector and with taxation systems and between different levels of governance. And also different apps should be interoperable. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And here's an effort that we are now engaging in, is also to prepare a project proposal within the Austrian Climate Research Program, Knowledge for ACE, building the knowledge base for youth and digital transformation, focused action for climate empowerment. We have another 2 weeks time to work on it. Again, if there's somebody interested, has expertise in the field of transformation science and also modeling societal systems in which we can put the individual and the young person at the center and then model the intervention logic and the areas how impact can be achieved and how can knowledge be managed in these systems, then we have a chance. And here also my contact details. But this is just as a brief background for and input for the discussion also. And with this, I would give the floor also to the first discussant, who is Ali Mustafa. Ali is our youth delegate to the United Nations Department for Global Communication, and is organizing a wonderful, big, transformative event tomorrow. Please, Ali, tell us more about your work and how you see, or what you also think about the European Climate Pact.
Thank you so much, Miro. I'm listening to the conversation, and conversation is very interactive, quite thoughtful, and very deep. The conversation that's going on here, all the biggest speakers, I was listening to the speakers and I was looking at the presentation that will be presented. That was very thoughtful, very inclusive, and most important part is the inclusion of the youth. Speaking of the inclusion of young people, inclusion of the youth, that's what I do while I work with the Miroslav and IAAI GloCha. I am the co-chair for the United Nations, co-chair for the Youth Representative Steering Committee for United Nations Department of Global Communications, nominated by the IAAI GloCha, Miroslav's organization. And besides that, previously I have been the co-chair for the 68 United Nations Civil Society Conference. And during that conference, we got a chance, we spearheaded actually the Youth Climate Compact. Youth Climate Compact was the first in the history of the United Nations that the youth from all around the world uh, came together and formed a climate compact, and it was adopted by the United Nations. It's on the United Nations website. If you go on Google, you just write the Youth Climate Compact, you will find the link. So Youth Climate Compact is a document based on 25 points or 25 pledges by the young people from all around the world. Like they are very, very much, made it easy for people to understand, for young people to understand how they can, take the climate actions in their communities, because it is a challenge. When we speak of the global south, when we speak of the youth in Africa, we speak of the youth in Asia, in Southeast Asia, in other parts of the world. It is very difficult for us to make them understand what are the challenges of the climate change and how climate change is impacting their lives. Climate change is impacting their health, and how climate change is impacting their economy. It is really difficult to make them understand, because they are not able to see it upfront. There is a clear, the lack of interest of the political leadership in those regions to, highlight these issues, because the issues of concern for them is something else. Through Youth Climate Compact, we were very successful to a point that we were, made youth understand how serious the climate change is, and how they can act on it. We formed the network, Generation Next Network, supported and spearheaded by the GloCha, and Miroslav's mentorship is always there. So the network of this network, Generation Next Network, is supposed to create small chapters or networks around the world, where they can act on the climate actions, where they can form a small network and, start acting in their communities by something very small, by just planting a small tree. It just, if there are 1.8 billion young people around the world, even if half of them, half of them people, plant tree just outside their home, or do a small plantation drive out in their community, it will make a huge difference in the entire world's environment. So that's what we are focused on, mobilizing young people, mobilizing the energy of the young people for the climate action. That is the aim of the youth compact. That is the aim of the Generation Next Network. We are organizing International Youth Conference tomorrow, which is going to be one of the largest youth conference. As in terms of numbers, we got 3,000 people registered for the International Youth Conference 2021, and we are hoping that people gonna attend in large numbers, big numbers. And one of the main focus of the International Youth Conference has been the push forward the agenda of the climate change. We have been very successful in doing so. As I mentioned, we have brought together the youth from Africa on the table and made them, realize how climate change is serious. We had bringing the youth from the Asia, Southeast Asia, Far East to, come sit on the table and talk about the climate change, how it is, how serious this issue is. So that's what we are all about, and that's what we are focused on these days. Thank you, Miro.
Thank you very much, Ali, for the great work that you are doing. You're really bringing hope and knowledge and inspiration to places that are often not covered by the work of the EU and also of UN. It's really with these new digital tools, new audiences can be reached and empowered. And thank you for your important work.
Thank you.
And with this, I'm happy and proud to give the floor to Danae from the Latin American Youth Climate Movement, and also from Yango Focal Point.
Yes.
Danae, please share.
Yeah, can you hear me well, Miro?
Yes, perfect. It's fine.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, it is good.
Okay, thank you. I have some approaches about here in Latin America and in other regions, by the way, because, you know, government has this intergenerational.
Excuse me, Dane, may I? There's a problem with the audio. There is a problem with the audio. Could we perhaps make it only audio and switching off the video? It would perhaps with the bandwidth better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, and you look great. It's a pity, but for the quality of sound.
Okay. So that I have some notes about the intergenerational equity approaches inside the Action for Climate Empowerment program, because you know, the intergenerational equity is a principle recognized of the international environmental law for the preservation of natural resources and for the future generations. You know, Alice Ben in the Managing Global Warming magazine mentioned that, and I'm very inspired of it because Action for Climate Empowerment needs to have these intergenerational approaches. Why I'm saying this? Because, you know, these days there is a lot of information about the importance of the youth in the climate change arena. But on the other hand, it's important to mention that we have to stop like using the youth word as a branding stuff, you know, because there is a lot of information everywhere in the media, in the social media, even in the radio. Well, here in my country, even in the radio, many people are talking about the importance of the youth on climate change and environmental issues. But I perceive that it's something just to brand the youth or the work that they are developing, but they are not entirely including the youth voices on this work. And on the other hand, intergenerational equity is one of the main axes of the Paris Agreement. You can find this term in the preamble of the Paris Agreement, and it's so powerful, and it's linked with the Article 12 of the Paris Agreement. So I think that it's necessary to start to work on these matters, because some youth, well, talking with some youth here in the region, in Mexico and in other countries of Latin America, they feel that they are carrying all the responsibilities to provide solutions to climate change. And it's a heavy responsibility, you know. So that's why I'm emphasizing the importance of intergenerational equity, because even climate change has a heavy weight on mental health in the youth generations, you know. And this is the first time that we are living 4 generations in a century. You know, there are the baby boomers, the Generation X, the millennials, as me, and the new ones that are the centennials. So if we don't see this environment and this rich environment of generational knowledge, I don't know what the future will look like. Because the youth feels so responsible about everything, and they are moving forward, but they also are changing every time. What I mean, many of the youth is right now in college development. So maybe in the future they are not going to be interested, given the circumstances or the context of their own regions or countries. They won't be interested anymore in climate change issues, maybe. So there is a potential that we can explode and explore with them if we try to see this intergenerational approach, because they cannot feel alone on this battle on facing the climate change. You know, they can feel supported for the other generations. I mean, from their grandparents, from their parents, from their friends, from their family. So it's interesting to start to work on these issues on the climate change arena. So yeah. And well, youth is transformative, but I have a question to for this. Are we, or there are enough spaces that are ensuring the participation of the youth to, in reality, face the climate change challenges? It's a good question, given these branding procedures that I have been noticing. So yeah, I think for the project, the Action for Climate Empowerment AT, it's necessary to work in the intergenerational approaches, and I'm happy to have been sharing with you these thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Danae, for sharing your great thoughts. And it's essential. Intergenerational equity needs to be made operationalized so that it really the system can deliver on this. And your guidance and your participation also in ACE-AT will help there. Thank you very much for your contribution. And with this, I'm happy to give the floor to Professor Minna Aslama-Horowitz from the University of Helsinki and St. John's University, and also our IAAI Vice President, been our president for several years, and we have learned very much from you and from the connection with your students. Thanks for being with us, and please share your thoughts on the topic.
It's an amazing honor to be here. Thank you for all the presenters, and also Ali and Dana, if I may, for your excellent comments. I have very little to add to what Ali and Dana said. I'm a social scientist, and I teach youth in America, in Europe, from all around Europe, as well as right now also Middle East and the Arab region and Southeast Asia. And I study trust. Institutional trust and trust to knowledge institutions and the media, especially amongst young people. And what we know is that the generation Z is perhaps the most altruistic generation, and probably because of necessity. They understand their existential crises, which are not only environmental, but also very much connected to social justice issues at large. And what I want to bring into this amazing discussion with all these concrete initiatives and tools is both a warning, which we can see from research of young people, as well as optimism. The warning is perhaps that due to pandemic, and due to political actions related to it, we really are experiencing a crisis of trust in institutions and people working in the sort of higher levels of society. However, the positive and optimistic part is that we really see this extreme desire of young people to make a change. And my addition to these wonderful tools that we have seen and the opinions presented here is that if I could have $1 million, I would invest in all kinds of micro-level, grassroots-led initiatives all around. Young people are active in TikTok and elsewhere, in places which we really don't know about. In sort of mainstream media and in our conferences and meetings. And while several people here have alluded to them, I think there's amazing potential also to start a wider hashtag movements when we start to take young people's efforts seriously and bring light to the efforts that are ongoing, especially with Generation Z and especially in different platforms. And especially sort of maybe in forms that we don't necessarily consider institutional or progressive as such, but that are fantastic and that can reach people, young people all around the world in a very different way than sort of more institutionalized forms of participation can. That was my 2 cents. Great conversation. Thank you for including me.
Yeah, thank you very much, Minna, and thanks for pointing out to the fact that really young people are living in their virtual worlds, which are totally disconnected with many elements of our societal organization. It's true. And yeah, we have to work on this, and the European Climate Pact has to work on it, and also the Action for Climate Empowerment program. thanks for your thoughts and always inspiring to hear you. Thank you very much. And with this, we are delighted to have Stefan Wagner with us, the head of the International Department of the City of Bonn. Very great thank you to being such a good host to the UNFCCC Secretariat and to ICLEI. We are frequently there, and we see that you are doing a great effort to provide hospitality and all services and infrastructure and everything for the global community. And you're doing a great job for the world, and we are happy and proud to have you today with us to hear what you're doing.
Thank you so much. And, this is really, I really appreciate the opportunity to be at this very interesting debate this afternoon. And I have to say, I have learned a lot. Even I heard a lot of things for the first time. So I really have to follow up on some of these issues you were mentioning here. Very interesting. Yes. Thank you for the nice introduction. I'm not a youth activist myself. I'm heading the International Affairs Department with the City of Bonn. But of course, we are responsible for the implementation of the global goals and also the Paris Climate Agenda in Bonn on local level. I'm glad it has been mentioned on various occasions this afternoon, the role of cities and, of course, the citizens in implementing the SDGs and the Paris Climate Agenda. And I think this is absolutely the case. Looking on Bonn, and this is probably true for the most European cities, we have to be honest that even though we are, I think, quite engaged for many years, we are not yet at the point where we can really see that the targets are being met. So it absolutely needs more effort. So this is without surprise that the City Council 2019, following a motion signed by Fridays for Future, and many other initiatives in Bonn, declared climate emergency, and at the end of 2019 also called for climate neutrality of the city of Bonn by 2035. It goes without saying that this is not something that would be happening without strong support of particularly young people in Bonn and all over the world. And the Fridays for Future movement, as we have seen, really pushed the agenda forward and really forced decisions makers to take other decisions and to be more more inspiring and more active in climate adaptation mitigation. What we need, however, is not just technical solutions that we try to provide, like energy efficiency in building and I don't know, electric fleets and stuff like that a city can do, but we need a transition within the cities, and we need the citizens on board, and this is why we need the young people in particular. And I think there's a good example in Bonn. Because this year the City Council kicked off, it supported an initiative that was kicked off by the civil society, to be precise, that is called Bonn for Future. It is a very interesting network of various initiatives in Bonn, Fridays for Future, Transition Town Bonn, many others, that have the goal to have a vision and specific actions in a broad participation process that leads the city to a climate neutrality path by 2035. And I think this is exactly the way we need to go. We need to bring the topic to the citizens. We need to include the citizens in our decisions, and we need to have the transformation on the ground. This is true for any city in the world. This is definitely also on the agenda of the new City Council and our new mayor who was elected in November last year from the Green Party. And I think there's a lot to be following in Bonn in this regard. And I'm more than excited to work together with initiatives here in Bonn. And I'm glad that also some of them are in this call today. Now, coming back to the European Climate Pact, for me, this is actually this was the initiative to follow this discussion today. But I think this is a great initiative that really reach out to the public, to the citizens themselves. We in Bonn are really curious to learn more about this initiative, also what a city can do, a local level authorities can do to really implement this pact, or to support this pact, to become more active in this regard. I should mention that we are of course, a member of various other initiatives like the Compact for of Mayors for Climate and Energy, networks like Climate, like ICLE and the Climate Alliance, and many more. So I would leave it with these few regards and comments from my side. And I think, yes, this is the right way forward. And also all the great examples we heard from youth participation is exactly what we were looking for also on local level. So I'm happy to follow in this regard. Thank you, Miro, for this opportunity. It was the first time we met in person, I guess,
yeah.
but hopefully not the last time. And I'm very curious to stay with you until the end of this. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful. Yeah. First, congratulations. And I also think that with our partners, with Yunus from ICLE, and also with this ASAT project, perhaps we can, and Sandra, who is working with us in Bonn, that we could perhaps develop pilot initiatives on a digital climate pact also, how we can develop tools where citizens can then create communities of those who want to become climate neutral and to enter a relation with the city and bringing together resources. And I'm delighted that you are today here, and it's the beginning of a joint journey, I think.
Thank you. Yes, looking forward to.
Yeah. And with this, I'm happy to give the floor to Badin Borde from Siemens Foundation, so a visionary person and action for climate empowerment, a leader, thought leader, and we aim to work together somehow, but what exactly we will find out.
Yes, thank you very much, Miro. You hear me well, I hope?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you very much for the invitation to be discussing today. I want to thank you also for the great event you are organizing, and to all the speakers who were talking before me. I'm Badin Borde, project manager at the International Foundation Siemens Stiftung for the international networks and the climate change education. Well, I want to make a very short introduction of what the foundation is doing actually in regards to action for climate empowerment. The approach is via climate change education. So climate change education is we understand it as not only climate change literacy, but also as climate change mitigation and adaptation. So to bring together all these three parts of education, or inside the education, is done via three different approaches. One is to create teaching and learning resources and teach trainers, teachers or train teachers to be able to have a backbone to be in class and to give a scientifically sound background to the youth, of course, to engage with the theme. Then another one is that these three themes are introduced into the education networks that are really grassroots, the education networks of the Siemens Stiftung, which are called STEAM territories, which are actually based on the STEAM subjects or STEM subjects. They are very grassroots in terms of they are territories which are bound to a region, and from there on the project develops with the problem of the exact region. So if there is a climatic like in the city, we heard that Recife is very has a Notstand, I don't know the word right now, that could be one problem that is reached by this STEAM territory, and then people from different sectors gather to solve this problem together. So And the last one is an international event, international conference on climate change education, which is held in Spanish, which I would like to invite all of you to be part of. The exact date has to be decided, but I will keep Miroslav informed, so he will let you know. And what we see from education in this aspect is that education, of course, is a great lever to bring change to the society, but it has a certain inertia which has to be coped with, no? So it is kind of slow in the impact on the society and to make the changes. So I think we all have to synchronize our work from the grassroots to the political stages to overcome the problems we are facing right now. So I will give back to Miroslav with the idea to foster those ideas that are here and bring them together. Also by incentivizing climate change education and action for climate empowerment more into the society, because only by doing it via education or only by doing it via political stages is not enough, I think. So this is a very great approach to bring us all together to synchronize our work. So thank you very much again.
Thank you very much, Badin. And together we will accomplish systemic transformation. And really, exactly. Knowledge is at the center. It is at the center, but we need to innovate also the way how it is transferred and generated and rewarded also. Here we will have to find new tools, and digital innovation will help us there as well, for sure. I'm totally sure. And with this, I give the add to the stream also Raymond van Ermen from the European Partnership for the Environment and also European Climate Pact Ambassador. Raymond, congratulations to your great work and greetings to Paris. Please share your thoughts on the European Climate Pact and its youth empowerment dimension and global dimension.
Good afternoon. I would like to start with the comment made by Timothy. Empowerment is on the agenda since 1992. And indeed, a lot remains to be done in order to accelerate the necessary transition. Therefore, we need game changers. And the youth as such is a tremendous game changer. We saw it last year with the role played by the youth movement in getting political authorities endorsing climate targets. But we need more. And I would have only two recommendations. The first is for youth to focus on how youth can change finance. Youth has the power to change finance through mobilization and new tools. And amongst those new tools, the digital technologies are offering unprecedented opportunities, in particular to act as equalizer, leveling the playing field, offering to the so-called disadvantaged the opportunity to leapfrog. And this is what we already see with programs of training on blockchain and girls' empowerment, like it has been developed in Latin America. So my recommendation is focus on finance, and you will get the change we need. Thank you very much.
Excellent point. Thank you very much, Raimond. And I've shared in the comment section also the link to the report of the UN Secretary General's Task Force on Digital Finance, which was especially about how to use citizens' financial resources and also the citizens' decision-making power in the different financial institutions to steer resources towards sustainability and climate action. Thank you very much for this great point, and looking forward to stay connected. And with this, we are coming to the concluding remarks, and I would be happy to give the floor to Tali to say what kind of remarks you have in conclusion and after having heard all these inputs, please.
Thank you so much, Miro. Indeed, it was highly interesting. I have learned quite a lot. I have also met again, at least virtually, some friends, and I was quite inspired what to do in the next upcoming weeks, especially having in mind our ACE-AT project. And I can be quite concrete. I would like to organize a call with our young experts and ambitious climate activists. I invite Timothy, Dane, and Marie-Claire and others to join. So we will be in touch if you're interested in. And by the way, I'm in very close collaboration with my colleagues from the Italian pre-COP presidency, and we have in mind to organize either a virtual meeting or, who knows, maybe also in-person meeting in Italy. And I have heard so many interesting things. Maybe we can have an interesting presentation about the crypto stamps or the digital innovations, what Tom has presented. So I think there are many, many ideas what we can present an interesting audience, and what we can also elaborate further. So Miro, we will keep in touch. I will also contact my colleagues in the UNFCCC Secretariat. They should support us in organizing some events. And I'm looking forward to be in touch with all of you, whoever is interested in, either you contact Miro or you contact directly myself. Maybe Miro can provide you with my coordinates. And yeah, and I'm looking forward to meet again, at least virtually, with you and have some exchanges of views, new ideas. And please keep on being ambitious as you are. I was really impressed. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Dali. It's really a sign of hope, a beacon of hope for the youth and for the whole world that you, in your important position in the ministry, are somehow steering innovation and providing new thinking and also financial resources to creating youth empowerment structures that will deliver impact on scale. And thank you very much for your great work. Thanks to all speakers, to the audience for a very interactive discussion on the comment section. It's this event will be available also later on demand, and we are standing available for inquiries and cooperation offers. You have my emails there, and I will be also the bridge to Tali. And thanks. The future is bright because we are committed to deliver it. Thanks. Bye-bye.